Shockley show. Turn your bitter into better. Turn your better. It's the Sonja Shockley show. It's the Sonja Shockley show. Turn your bitter into better. Turn your better. It's the Sonja Shockley show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the Sonja Shockley Show. I am your host, Sonja Michelle Shockley, inspirational singer and speaker, life coach, soul nurturer, and your big sister in relationships. And I help people transform their pain into purpose and turn their bitter into better. Yeah. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Doesn't that sound amazing? To be able to turn your bitter into something better. Oh, I'm super excited today. I'm so excited today because we have with us speaker, singer, preacher, bishop, doctor. I'm so excited to have Andrea Trusty King with us, and she's going to share with us some true nuggets of gold. And we know the Bible tells us that, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. And truly, my guest today, she knows the goodness of tasting God's goodness, or she knows the wonderfulness, I should say, I'm making up a word, of tasting the goodness of the Lord. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And hello, everybody.
Yes, and you look so beautiful. I mean, I love the whole outfit, your hair, and just grateful to have you here. Why don't you just give a brief introduction of who you are? We know you're this amazing, wonderful Proverbs 31 woman, but just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, like you said, I am Andrea King. I am mother of two wonderful teenagers. Sometimes. Sometimes they're wonderful, but always teenagers. I am wife to my partner and lover and everything else in ministry, Dr. Kurt King. And I pastor in San Bernardino at the 16th Street Seventh-day Adventist Church. But I am just a child of God trying to get closer to my daddy.
Yes. Beautiful introduction. And isn't that what we all want to do? You know, I think about when Paul says, I must decrease so you can increase. And every day we're going through these challenges. We go through life's experiences and we see the part of us that needs to decrease so that God can increase in us. Yes. Our title today, we're talking about The Queen in Me, which is one of your books that you've written. And in this book, you talk about identity, purpose, and your design, or your identity, design, and purpose. And usually, you know, our inspiration comes because of our own personal stories, our personal journey. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened to you to make you so passionate about these subjects, identity, design, and purpose?
Well, I think it's still happening to me. I am on a journey. And I remember growing up when people talked about finding themselves or discovering who they were, and I thought they were surely crazy. But now I get it. And so I think, you know, growing up, everybody had an idea of what you should be, who you are. And I spent a lot of time trying to be all of those things. And then God came with the most ludicrous idea that I should be a pastor. And I was just dashing all my hopes and dreams. And it truly, you know, crashed in the face of identity for my denomination is Seventh-day Adventist. And so they weren't feeling it. My family, my friend, nobody was feeling that. And so it And, church members weren't feeling that, to be honest. And so, since even though I had the position, they still weren't going to let me be their pastor. I had to really begin to figure out who I was, period, beyond all of that. And I think a lot of times God has purposes for us. He has an identity that we find in him that is not related to other people or other things. I remember even as a kid, I didn't think I was very attractive. And I talk about in the book how I was flat as a board. And it was not until I'm just telling the truth. Are we allowed to do that here on the Sonja Shockley show? And so the boys would make fun of me, all this kind of stuff. And then eventually they started to pay attention to me. And it was then that I thought I was something. And God had to really help me understand, like, no, you were something before they were paying attention or before you cared. And you can get in a lot of trouble basing your identity or your worth on how people view you, or if they like you today and stop liking you tomorrow. So I think it's important, no matter what is going on, to be grounded in not just who you are, but who God called you to be.
Isn't that so true? I mean, I love it. Oh my goodness. I just love it because so many times we look externally for our value. And it's only until I began to look inside and what I call my inner size now. We do these physical exercises, but it's so important to the inner size, the inner exercises. And this is when we're doing, Psalms 46:10, just being still and knowing that he's God. And it's in that stillness that he can speak to us and remind us that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. You are my masterpiece. I'm the one that gave you all of that. I'm the one that gives you the value. So I love it. I love it so much what you're saying. So now you talked a little bit about your own personal journey and you're passionate about helping others. The queen in me, that of course, I can go so many directions with that. But the queen in me, what do you hear when you first came up with that title? What was it that resonated in you?
Well, I think, and the book was actually written for when I was writing, and I had help. There's others that contribute to the book, and we had youth and young adults really in mind. There are so many people I work with victims of human trafficking, and a lot of them got because they don't understand how valuable they are. And part of the grooming process is literally breaking down their esteem, breaking down their defenses and who they are, so that they now take a view of themselves that their pimp gives them. And as sex workers get out of that, and as victims come out of that, there's this thing of helping them to see how amazing they actually are and how to begin unpeeling those layers of abuse, of pain, of all of that kind of stuff. And everybody's life may not be as extreme as being caught up in human trafficking, but we still have all picked up these layers of abuse. Life tries to break us. And if you're a minority and a woman in these United States, things are designed to make you feel less than, to never see yourself, well, not never, but not often see yourself when they have something pretty, almost like people have to say, oh, you're pretty for a Black girl, or oh, you're cute to be dark skinned, something like that. And so you have all of these things that life wants to throw on you, but God has deposited something in you. And so it's really to help us all recognize and understand that God has deposited this queendom. Since you can make up words, I can make up words, even though that might be a word. But there's this queendom and there's royalty within each of us.
Yes, of course, of course. I love it. And so many times we let our past define us. We allow the painful events that have happened to us to be our identity. And so many people get stuck in that. And then after a while, it's just kind of comfortable. It's comfortable with being the victim. There are some pros with having this sad story. I get a lot of attention with this sad story. How do you help those who they may say, I want to get out of the victim story, but yet they're still stuck? And it may be because they find benefits in it. What would you say to someone like that?
Well, one of the things that I help people do is change how they tell the story. So your story is yours. Own that. You can have it for the rest of your life. But and one of the exercises that we do, and if you were to go to one of my seminars, you would do this exercise. So don't, flip out when you hear it now and then gonna have to do it again. But like the story of Joseph, I have you tell it in two different ways. So you could say, you would expect to see this hardened brother. He was wrongly accused. He was grew up without his daddy. His mama died. His family hated him. Then he got locked up because some broad, lied about being raped, and then they gonna have him all locked up in the prison and enslaved, brought him to a land. We could go on and on and on, right? And that's his story. And that's the same story that we tell. However, when I tell it, we talk about how he went from the pit to the plantation to the palace. Same story. We talk about the rape, we talk about the betrayal. And so it's like, own your story, but you can tell it from another way. And so I try to help people see their same story, but realize, because even Joseph was like, I know y'all did me dirty. Y'all thought y'all were doing something, but God meant this stuff for good. And so it's just about reframing what you've been through. Many of the people that we are drawn to have stories, have made mistakes, have been through all kind of stuff. And their weakness is really what draws us to them, because they're relatable. And so nobody has to let go of their story, but I would much rather be a victor than a victim. I could take this same thing, you know what I'm saying? So this could be a phone or it could be a camera. Like it has multiple uses. So our stories are the same. Girl, you got me around here preaching.
No, I love it. Please, I'm enjoying every nugget that you're dropping. I'm trying to write down. I'm trying to listen. Thank God for YouTube. We can watch this again. So, no, I love it. I mean, pain brings about a fresh perspective. Our wounds can bring wisdom if we allow it to do that. And, anybody who's successful, it's not because they have not failed. In fact, they've had many failures, but they've learned to change their perspective, or they've learned to change the focus. And I often think about the Wright brothers, when they invented the airplanes, and how many people were saying, no, we can't fly, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And they didn't focus on staying on the ground. They focused on flying. You think about the person who invented the ship, and we've got these big cruise liners now floating in the middle of the ocean. They didn't think about sinking. They thought about how can we float, Yes. So when we can just change the focus, we can see how the attitude just will, I know it's old, but attitude truly determines our altitude. And I see that with you, just how you've been able to overcome so many challenges. Taking me into my next questions. You make it look so easy, Doctor. I'm sorry. We know you've had your challenges. We know you probably, have had your problems, your problem children in the sheep that you're shepherding. We know it. What's the secret? How do you make it look so easy? What do you think would be your secret, especially for women who are in ministry?
You said, how do I make it look so easy? I was like, well, obviously I do a good job of not showing y'all, because it's anything but.
And one thing I want to add, just because she carries the load well doesn't mean it's not heavy. And that's what I want to say. You carry the load so well. And I just want to say, just for other women who are in ministry, what's the secret to doing that?
So I don't know that I found it yet. As a matter of fact, like during this whole COVID thing, I've been doing lots of exercise. I probably should have been doing a little more exercise too. But it is what it is. And one of the things that I recognize is, and it may be like I may owe the world an apology because making things look so easy. I can't remember the name of the book, but I was reading. It might be something about it ain't heavy or something, or a big yoke to bear. Anyway, it talks about specifically Black women who people just think that, everything is cool and they have so much, and then life continues to throw things on it. And so, and I think I was probably operating at my limit. And then when George Floyd was murdered, and then Breonna Taylor and all of this uproar, like I was already at my limit. And so just a drop more of emotion, just a drop more of anything, I think really jacked me up where I needed some more inner size, because I had anger. I was just jacked up, to give you the scientific term. And so I think part of it, making it look easy, because everybody locked in their houses, you don't run into me that often. You only run into me when I turn the lights on and I'm there. So I think, but this has been a time where I have been with boundaries like nobody's business. And I was talking with someone and they were like, all right, boundaries. Okay. You're setting clear boundaries. Okay. I'll back up. There was like a couple of weeks where people just kept complimenting my boundaries or whatever. And I needed them. And so I think that part of it is making sure that you set clear boundaries, because there's only so much of you to go around. And I got to the end of myself. But I had more work to do. I had more week to do. I had more parenting to do. So I realized, you know what? I don't want to get there anymore where I run out. And even though I ran out, Jesus didn't. Amen. And so he helped me understand too that you shouldn't have been running it anyway. So I am not the poster child for balance. I'm maybe the poster child for making it look easy, but now I'm telling you it's not. And I've learned my lesson, and I'm trying to make it easier lest I fall.
Yes. No, so many nuggets. And I just again want to say thank you for your transparency, because this is the kind of stuff we didn't necessarily get from others who were upfront, pretending like life was so perfect. And we're coming to a point in ministry where the young people, they want transparency. They need for you to say, you're struggling too, that, there's some things that you still have some challenges with. So I thank you for that. I just want to commend you. You talked about boundaries, which is huge for me, something that I'm learning and discovering myself, just as far as when it comes to our emotional wellness. We need to set up some healthy boundaries. So 3 of the things that I feel the Lord has shared with me about how to keep my joy, because that's what it's about now. It's like,
Yes.
I'm staying in joy, okay?
Yes.
So for me, my 3 main things, number 1 is to stop comparing myself to others. Number 2, he's told me, be comfortable with no. And then he also said to release the how. I just couldn't release the how. I kept coming to him like, how, Lord, how could it be done? Like Mary, when the angel came to her and said, you're going to bring forth a son. She's like, well, hey, I'm all in, but how can
this thing be?
Us women, we're like, how is it going to get done? But when I was finally able to release the how, when I tell you, oh, what peace we often forfeit.
Come on. Yeah.
I had been forfeiting so much peace, so much joy, so much just, surrendering just to the process now. So when I talk to you about what God has given me, what are some of the things that come up when I talk about it? And I'll repeat it again, not being afraid to say no, not comparing myself to others, and releasing the how.
So, and I love all of those. I think I'm learning those
You
some more
may
than
want to add.
others. So, not being afraid to say no, I've gotten good at that. People don't understand. And they often say, I don't know why. You don't have nothing else to do. Everybody's locked in their house. I'm like, listen, this coronavirus did not alleviate any of my duties. If anything, it gave me heck of more.
Right.
So that whole sit at home, not having anything to do is not my testimony.
Yeah.
And I still thought I could do, because it's virtual, I still thought I could do this, that, and the other. But now I've gotten really, really stingy with my time, really stingy with the things that I commit myself to. And people don't understand. And I'm okay if.
And I don't want to say it's stingy. I think you're just a better steward of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Way to reframe.
Let's reframe that. Yes.
Yes, I'm a better steward of my time.
Yeah.
And I'm good with it. And period.
Yeah.
And so, unapologetic. I mean, I may be apologetic for something. And so, which gives to the second thing, on occasion, I may break my rule only if it brings me much joy. Mm-hmm. If it's something like, if it's a no-brainer, like I would love, so, and I'm not going to say my rules publicly, but there are some things that will break my rules. So if these conditions exist, then it's almost an automatic yes. And my family knows it. They know that this kind of thing is her passion. And so when these opportunities come, she's probably going to say yes, even if she has to move some things or whatever. And so I try to make room for things that bring me joy, even in, or especially in work, because it shouldn't just be, you have like your work and then you have fun. But I'm like, why? Because I work too much. I need to start having fun at work. So no matter what I'm doing, it's how can I make this? If I'm doing, I was about to say laundry, but I would be fronting. So if I'm doing housework, then it's like, how can I make this fun? If I'm exercising, which is not one of my favorite things, how can I make this fun? So no matter what it is, how can I make this fun? How can I have joy, if you will, even though I know that joy is not based on our circumstances, but is something inner deep within. But sometimes it comes out and it makes stuff fun. So I try to tap into that too. And I am still learning the not worrying about the how. That has been a amazing lesson that God has taught me, especially during this time of COVID, where I could spend a whole day. Listen, can't nobody worry like me. If that was Olympic sport, baby, I would be a gold medalist. And so, I mean, I would be sitting trying to figure out all of this stuff. And I did all that worrying and still cannot figure out the solution. And God is sitting there like, he already knew how he was going to do it. I think John 6:36 or something like that says when Jesus tells them to feed the 5,000 men and their families. And he says, but Jesus already knew what he was going to do. And so I've recognized that he already knows what he's going to do. And so whether I stress out about it or I spend the day doing something fun, he's still going to do what he does. Now, sometimes I feel guilty because I feel like this is serious. I need to show the Lord how serious I am about it, that I have really sweat and put blood and tears to this thing. But he's just as pleased with me when I don't. If he's going to do it, then I let him. And so there's things that I realize because I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. And he absolutely does. And that's why he told me to do it or be involved or whatever. And he's going to work it out. And so I'm like, God, I'm excited to see what you're going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
If it's something I need to know today, tell me. If it's something I need to do, let me know. I'm all over it. But otherwise, it's all you, boo.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You know, I think about Isaiah when I kind of rephrase the verse. For me, it's like, Sonja, before you called, I answered. And while you're still talking about it, it's
Come
already,
on.
you
Come
know,
on.
it's like you're still talking about it. It's done. It's over. I heard you the first time. You know, it's like when
Yes.
you talk to your husband. It's like, did you hear me? It's like, yeah, I heard you the first time. So if we could just now relax when it comes to the how, again, it has given me so much joy. Of course, people are not comfortable with the word detach. But even God has learned how to detach. He gives you the power of choice. You know, we have in the Garden of Eden the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. Okay, choose which one. You know, they made a choice. He stood back. Now, of course, he had a plan B. Thank you, Lord. But still, he was able to step back and allow us our choices. And as a woman of faith and leading so many people, how difficult is it for you to detach, to just allow people their choices, allow them to be where they are for now, and understand that it is a process, growing and maturing spiritually, emotionally. It's a process. How good are you at things like that?
Unfortunately, I'm really good at that. I have
Oh,
other flaws. 99 follows, but that usually isn't one. And part of it is, you know, like working with um, the population that I work with. They
mhm.
have to learn to own their stuff,
Yes,
and they have to understand when they're sabotaging themselves. And
yes,
I mean, not just them. We have to understand. Period. Just
yes,
period. And I'm not. And I'm not. I don't mean to sound like I have it all together, but one of the things that I had to do was teach the class on boundaries. And
mm,
so, like that first year, it was kicking my behind because I'm trying to help them and I had to help myself. But
yes,
after, you know, it's never something that you get perfect at, but they helped me grow. They
mm,
helped teach me, and they helped show the things in my life where I had to let go. And so sometimes it takes longer, but to see them get it, to see people get it, like, oh,
yes.
it's just beautiful. This may be a generalization, but sometimes I feel like they get it faster than church members and people around me.
Yeah.
And maybe because not getting it doesn't have as many consequences. You know, we have just people who will take up the slack, or as Christians, a lot of people want to rush in and help and make it like, oh, pastor, you know, that this is happening, and this is this. And sometimes people think I'm mean. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I am sorry to hear that.
Yes.
And sometimes there's ways that we can help. And there's sometimes that experiencing, because the Bible talks about you reap what you sow. And so
Mm,
if I run in and reap what you sow so that you don't
mm,
have to reap anything but anything, let me tell you, experience is a good teacher. And
yes,
I don't want to do your homework
yes, yes,
because experience giving me my lessons too. And so people don't understand it. And I wish I could say it in a nicer way.
oh no, it was perfect.
But
Perfect. It took me to one of my old favorite songs, in Experience is a Good Teacher. I think
love
that's,
under new
yeah,
management.
yes, yes.
Sing it, sing it.
That's exactly where it took me. When you said that, I said, honey, if that's not the truth. And I love the powerful nugget about you shouldn't reap what others have sown. Man, that was so good. That was just juicy, tasty good, because many times we feel that we're intervening, but we're really interfering in
That
what
part.
God is trying to do in someone's life because we won't simply just, realize we're not a part of the Trinity. It's Father, Son, Holy Ghost. No, you're not included. So we talked about ministry, but let's move to motherhood. Are you able to use now these same principles? How are you able to switch the hats from pastor, teacher, bishop, reverend, depending doctor?
There you go, making up stuff.
How do you take that hat off now and be just mom for these two amazing, beautiful children that you have?
Listen, one of the things with I was going to say the other people who help me understand that are my children, and that's the hardest thing. And sometimes I feel like a bad parent, and my kids will not hesitate to say, well, maybe you are. maybe you should, there should be some work in this area. We were watching something, and the father or something said, I want you to be better, but I realize in order for you to be a better child, you have to be a better parent. And one of my kids was like, I'm like, listen. So yeah, so hey, so that means, so how that looks, except for this one area, how that looks is allowing them to reap some of the consequences of their behaviors.
Yes.
And so then, of course, sometimes you feel like a bad parent, or people are like, where was your mama?
Yes.
And she was praying on the side, like, God, this your child more than it's mine. So please help them. Like, I'm trying, but and I think you just have to trust God. And like, my kids are not bad. They're not they're great kids. They all got mouths on them, but they may have gotten that honest. So
two preachers
on both sides.
Yeah, right.
Today.
Right.
But and so we're growing together. We are all growing together. And there are just some things, like when they were little, like having to have like a project. Oh, please, I'm pulling out my Civics and my Cricut and my all kind of stuff. And like second, third grade, they got mechanics on their stuff. They got lights, and they would record and stuff. And then I did this whole boundaries thing. And if you wait until the end, to the day before,
yes,
you got notebook paper and crayons.
That's right.
I'm paying tuition, and I hate to see it go down the toilet, but
oh man,
we all gonna learn today.
That's
so
right. That's right.
I
love it. I'm telling you, these are nuggets.
Pray for me and pray for my children.
This is truth, and this is the new mom. This is the modern mom. This is the modern mom who's working, who has a schedule. I realized, of course, when we were children, probably not you, but my generation, we were just seen in that.
The same generation.
I don't know. I wanted to say that.
Okay, I'm a millennial, but don't think I'm young.
So, we were just seen. We weren't heard. We didn't ask a lot of questions. We kind of just went with the program. We were just happy to, not to be invisible. When grandma said, hey, you want to come with me? Yeah. We knew it would be a good time, but we knew our place. We knew our role. Of course, this new generation, they're having conversations with you. They can ask why. Something that I wasn't able to ask. It wasn't until I became an adult that I started to ask.
All the holes and everything.
Right.
Like, you have a degree. Did you really think that was smart, Mom? Now that you mention it, no.
They're not going to let you get away with a lot. They're going to definitely help you with that, being true to yourself, because they're going to be true to themselves too. So thank you so much. Thank you. I know we're getting close to our time. I know you've got some other appointments today, but I wanted to just talk a little bit about forgiveness before you go. I feel like for me, a huge part of me discovering my identity, my design, my purpose was, first of all, forgiving myself and learning how to forgive others. Can you talk a little bit about forgiveness and just the power that it has in ministry and just as a human being?
Definitely. And so, like the exercise I talked about earlier with Joseph, so that's a part of my forgiveness clinic. And we literally go through some of those things. And so, it is absolutely important. And as anointed as forgiveness sounds, it's also super selfish because
Mm,
it helps to free you from just all of this weight. Anger is debilitating.
yes.
Ask me, I know.
Mm,
Anger. So, like, I experienced health challenges with all of the stuff that happened in these last few months because I told you
mm,
I already had it to here.
right.
It just took one drop, and
Mm,
life through felt like a ton. And so anger is debilitating and it messes with you. And so to be able to take that weight off, and it doesn't usually happen immediately. It usually is a process. It usually is something that you can make the decision in one moment, but the way
mm,
that you work that thing through. Like, you can make, this is a very bad example, but you can make the decision to take a certain treatment plan. Say if you have a disease or something, cancer
mhm,
or something, you make a decision that I'm going to take this treatment plan. And so even if you have a surgery, even if you deal with whatever, so okay, fine, I'm gonna get to surgery so that this can be taken from me. But you still have this whole recovery process. You still, day after day, have to grapple with and adjust your life to that decision that you made. And so sometimes people feel like, well, I thought I forgave, or I said I was going to forgive, but here I am
right.
still mad as the Dickens. And
Yeah.
so once again, but it's like the recovery. So you decided, yes, take this thing out of me, but you still have pain. You still remember. You still have to go through, a physical therapy or whatever. So I think that um there's so many things that are processes, and maybe Jesus says 70 times 70 because it may take you that many times
Mm,
to deal with the same thing.
yeah.
It may not even be that you're standing there letting somebody turn your cheek
Right, right.
490 times.
Yes,
It
yes.
could be that sometimes it takes that. And I think a lot of us get discouraged because it's like, I thought I was over this. How did we get here
Mm,
again?
yes.
But you're here and God is here. And so he said that he'll walk with you through it. Now, everybody ain't able to be in the middle of it and be like, Father, forgive them. They know
Mm,
not what they do.
right.
Stephen was able to do it, maybe, but maybe if he lived 2 weeks later, he might have been like, you know what, that was dirty. They did me dirty.
Yeah.
And there's many people who make these bold things like, I forgive you. It's the Christian thing to do. And
Mhm.
then 2 weeks later, that anger hit, and you already made this public statement. But now you have to deal with the recovery process.
Yes.
When I had surgery, they were like, you can't drive for 3 weeks. You can't lift heavy stuff. That was a part of the recovery process. And
Yeah.
so I think I may not be answering your question,
Oh,
but I
no,
definitely think
perfect.
it's important. and that it's a process. Even if you somehow are able to convince yourself you've accomplished it in a moment, it is going to take, you still gonna have a recovery process. And
No.
during that time, you may still feel a
Mhm.
little pain, a
Yeah,
little something. But when I had surgery and they said, well, you will feel this and you will feel that, that is just a sign that you are
Mhm.
healing. And so I somebody may be listening and be like, oh, that's me. Because I thought I gave it up, but every so often. So I'm gonna tell you, like my doctor told me,
Yeah.
sometimes when you feel that pain and you feel that whatever,
Mhm.
that could be a sign that you are healing, that God is in it, and that He's going to help continue you on this process and journey.
Yes,
Amen.
ma'am. Oh no, I love it. I love it because the fact is, the first nugget was you made a decision. I mean, everything starts, of course, first with a decision. You decided, I'm going to choose forgiveness. And then now there's a process with that choice, just like there will be a process with unforgiveness. You can continue to just roll on down the hill and go to the pit of hell and just be angry and allow it to debilitate your organs, your lungs, your kidneys, your heart, whatever. Or you could make that decision to say, hey, like Michelle Obama, I'm going to go high, even if
Mm-hmm.
they went low, because we know in the long run, forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself. And
Yes.
many times we make it about the other person when it's really all for you. It's God's gift to help you release the offenses that you could occur or probably will incur as you go through life. So when I changed my perspective about forgiveness and said, oh, this is really the gift for me. What am I here for? What? I'm the one need this stuff. It helped me to be able to release better. But yes, do things come up, a trigger like a Vietnam flashback? Like you get PTSD or something, something triggers it and you just that quick, you're ready, 0 to 60.
Mm-hmm.
But then you again say, I want to stick with this decision of forgiveness. Now
Can I,
tell us, oh, go ahead.
oh,
Yeah.
can I, one thing when you just said that, um, not to make it all super spiritual or spooky or something, but I
No,
could have
no.
heard God say, and I'm the same way. Forgiveness, like when God forgives us, because many times, like, how could you forgive such a thing? And I felt like He just said right now, and I could be wrong, but it's like almost a selfish act for Him too. And
Mm,
so we're wondering how in the world could He forgive this, 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 and it's like He doesn't want to walk with all of that baggage or whatever. And some people have trouble thinking that God would forgive
yeah.
and that we don't deserve the forgiveness. And perhaps we don't. But I just believe that God can look at it from that same exact way, and it frees His heart that He doesn't have to, you know, Revelation talks about this cup of fornication and what. Now, who want to have a cup of fornication sitting up in there on their cabinet? Like, listen, I'm gonna pour that thing out. I don't want no pour. I don't want to. I don't want to think about keep imagining how you wrong this person or even
Yeah.
my heart. And so, I think maybe in my head sometimes I wonder, God, how can you forgive this? And I feel like he just told me. That may help somebody, but it
Oh,
surely
that was
helped me.
powerful. Yes, yes. Woo, my goodness. That was again another tasty nugget.
Yes,
I love
Lord.
I
That's
love it. He said, I'm gonna just free myself. Okay, I forgive you.
yeah, it's for him too. And we think that he's giving us such a gift. I think he might be gifting himself a little bit. Go
Yes.
ahead, go ahead, guy. You deserve it.
Well, just a few comments. We have Iris Holmes. She says, good morning to all the queens this morning.
Good
And then
morning.
Ann Mann, she says, powerful information. I needed to hear this. May God continue to bless you both. And
Praise
we thank you.
God.
And we want to thank everybody who's tuned in today. We have others, but it doesn't look like we have We have one comment. Thank you for this. So many great ways to deal with forgiveness. That comes from Mark and Leanne. But people watching, but it doesn't look like we have any more comments. Tell us before you go, how can we get your book? How do we purchase these books, or how can we at least see your beautiful face again and hear some more of these nuggets? How can people reach out to you? Tell us about that.
So I suppose you can reach out to me. You can find my books on my website. My website is I am Dr. Andrea, IAMDRANDREA.com. And it's still under construction. We're working with it, but you can get the books there. And on my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, though I'm not terribly great with social media at the moment. But my handle is Dr. Andrea King on most of those places. And so you can find something there. And our churches, so our services from the last few months, you can find at Stream 16 SDA, because I pastor the 16th Street Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so Stream16SDA.com will take you to the churches like YouTube, and you can find some messages there. So, yes.
Yes, yes. So, guys, you heard it right here on the Sonja Shockley Show. You can go to I am Dr. Andrea. Is it King or just Dr. Andrea?
I am Dr. Andrea.
DrAndrea.com for her books. She has two books, The Queen and Me, and then the other one is Christ.
Finding Christ.
Finding Christ. And you can also go.
I guess you can't really see it. Did I go away?
No, you're still here. I didn't see the book. You still see your face, though.
Okay, well, it looks like hold on just a second.
Okay.
It looks like my camera is dying or about to die.
Okay.
So, but I'm glad that it's still going for all intents and purposes.
We can see you. So we want to thank you again. I know that you have a busy schedule, and I know that you're a great steward of your time, not stingy, but great steward of your time. So I feel completely honored to be able to have you here for a few moments. I want to thank all of our guests who joined in today to hear this powerful conversation with Dr. Andrea King, as she shared with us the nuggets on how to discover our identity, our design, and our purpose. You can always catch the Sonja Shockley Show on my YouTube channel. I would love for you to go there so you can like and subscribe and share it with your friends. We want to get these positive messages out there. There are so many people who need to hear an inspirational word of hope. Take care until next time. God bless you. And remember that I love you with an everlasting love. Take care.